and bam, live on YouTube and Facebook. So now I have my setup complete. I have my Instagram streaming from my cell phone positioned right next to my DSLR camera. I have my mic. You could see me on both. You could hear me on both. Life is good. And this is another installment of the dirty work. This is number 48. Just waiting for people to join the group. First 3 minutes, I'm starting to get my rhythm down and I know what I want to do. So for the first 3 minutes of the dirty work, as we're letting people kind of get their notifications and be made aware that we're going live, I'm going to talk about what went down for me today. So today started out with a doctor's visit for my little girl. She was getting some shots. And I got this down to science now that it's all about distracting her, making the experience fun, and downplaying the pain of the shot. She doesn't cry when I go with her. She might go give out a little like, eh, but she doesn't go into full cry mode. She doesn't go into like this crazy cycle when she walks into the doctor's office. She gets a little nervous once the nurse comes in, but she deals with it pretty well. After that, I had a meeting with some of my resources from Freelance Latam. Uh, they're people, they're not just resources, but I met with Veronica and Luis today to kind of talk about one of our outreach campaigns that isn't going so well and the need to pivot and change the approach and focus more on our software sales. Right after that, I had a meeting with my director of nursing just to talk about how are things progressing with our connectivity with Allscripts. Then it was into the next meeting for the day with a medical group out of Michigan. This lead actually came from Earn Your Leisure's interview, and it's actually a pretty interesting scenario. It's a medical practice that does home care, does assisted living, is an ACO, and they're dealing with connectivity issues between their 3 software systems. So we're looking to bridge those gaps with our software and allow them to run with greater efficiency and really keep everything in one platform, which is really what we strive to do with our company. After that, I had another meeting with one of the heads of directing or director of marketing at one of the managed long-term care plans, talking to them about how AidBook is different than my other company, Avalanche Care, and what we're doing as a tech-enabled home healthcare service and how we're positioning ourselves in that marketplace. Also had to make a bank run today to get verification of funds and proof of deposits for our Medicare application here in Florida. Now, they want us to have an additional $98,000 or close to $100,000 in cash reserves just for Medicare. This is aside from our operational money. This is the money that we need to really show that we're able to manage our cash flow while we're waiting for Medicare reimbursement. So when I tell people that it costs well over $100,000 to start a home care agency properly, especially if you're going the scaled route, it's not a farce. This is the reality of it. You need to be well capitalized and you need to be able to deal with delays and covering payrolls just before you even get started. So that pretty much was my day in a nutshell. Nothing groundbreaking, nothing exciting, just more of the routine, more of the dirty work. All right. So we're up on the 3-minute mark. I see that we have people in attendance. Those of you who are here, make sure you like this video, especially on YouTube. That really helps this video get promoted. When it's live, it actually pushes out to more people who are not in the subscriber base based on how you guys engage with the content. So comments, likes, sharing this video, making other people aware that this live is going on is greatly appreciated. This is my opportunity to promote what I'm doing in our company and also to answer your questions. And if this is something that you find useful, make sure you like it so that other people find it useful and you give me what I need in order to continue to grow this channel. I do have some questions that came in so far on my Instagram live. I would say just hold off for 15 minutes. I'm going to go through what the topic of the day is, and then we're going to cover the questions. All right. So it's important for me to build my rhythm, talk about what we're going to talk about, and then I'll open it up for questions because you might learn something in the midst of things. Okay. So just hold off on your question, Emrit. Definitely going to get to you. But just hold off. All right. So today's installment of the Dirty Work, number 48, is really focusing on the need to promote yourself. You have to self-promote. And I was thinking about what the tip of the day was going to be. And that's really one of the things that I think many entrepreneurs, people in general society forget to do. Whether you're a business owner trying to grow your business, you're single and trying to hook up and find a partner, or you're lonely and you're just looking for friends, the only way that you're going to achieve any of those things is to physically promote yourself to others that you're actively looking for business, love, friendship, right? If you don't do that, what do you think is going to happen? You're most likely not going to come across anybody because nobody's going to know what you're looking for and nobody's going to know what you're interested in. All right. So it's very important for you, no matter what you're doing, to be your number one promoter. It doesn't matter who you hire, what PR firm you have. The only person that's going to sell you the hardest is you. You need to get into the habit of promoting yourself. And one of the people that I learned this from, and a lot of people unfortunately dislike me for my affinity or my liking of Donald Trump. Donald Trump is the master, or one of the masters, of self-promotion. Prior to him running for president and becoming, or not becoming, but embracing radical racism and radical behavior, I was a big fan of Donald Trump as a businessman, as a real estate developer, as a public figure, because the dude is from New York. I grew up seeing what he does, the work that he does. We grew up kind of getting, I don't know, brainwashed in a way that Donald Trump is the man, right? He used to host Mike Tyson fights at his casinos. His name was everywhere. He was this force in New York City. And actually, till he ran for president, he was very much a force in the public scene. Doesn't make him the best businessman in the world, doesn't even make him the best human being, but his name was highly recognizable. And that's something that he built out of his father's organization. His father's organization existed, but it was him that brought the brand to the forefront of, right now, the world, right? The Trump brand is a world brand at this point. Probably the most talked about brand right now is the Donald Trump brand. So in growing up in New York City and reading his books, I got the opportunity to see how this guy functions and how he utilizes the media and any attention that he could get as a moment to promote what he's doing and why it's great. If you ever pay attention to a Trump rally or press conference or phone call or tweet, he's never going to not say that he is the best at something. He's the smartest guy you ever met. He's the best looking guy that you've ever met. His real estate is, his team, everything that he does is the best ever. And it doesn't matter if he's selling a crappy unit. It doesn't matter if he's selling a high-end unit. It doesn't matter if he's selling his made in China ties. He doesn't care. It's the best tie you possibly could get. And this is something that he does consistently. Whether you decide to believe it or not, it's important for you to message those things, or whether people are listening to you or not, it's important for you to message it. Because if you just sit there and you truly have the best real estate development, or you have the best architect, or you have the best book on business, or you have the best consulting service, and you aren't going around saying that you have this best thing, who do you think is going to say it for you? Maybe some of your clients are, but are your clients going to be on social media? Are your clients going to be taking out ad space? Are your clients going to be trying to get onto news and media networks to talk about what you're doing? Most likely not. All right. So those are all opportunities for increased impressions, increased visibility, and you need to create those things in your own life and what you're doing. Another thing that Donald Trump does really well as far as self-promotion is concerned is that this dude gets so many free impressions. Whatever he can do to be seen, he will do. This is why he was going after Obama and him being not born in the United States. This is why he criticized every political leader that was around. It didn't matter if you were a Republican, Democrat. No, the guy doesn't even have a party, in my opinion. The dude only cares about how can he position himself. So if you look at when he was in New York, he criticized every single mayor, told them that he could do work better than they could do. They're not running the city properly. If he was the mayor, he'd run it better. And every time he did those things, it would get picked up by the news. He would pay for New York Times open letters, right? Take out a full page and blast a mayor. Not only because he knows that, okay, if I paid for this full page open letter, is going to get seen in this newspaper, but other news networks are going to pick up how I publicly went in on this mayor or how I publicly went in on the governor. And he realized that by positioning himself anti a political leader, especially being a recognized person, that it gave him a larger and larger voice. But every time that he was brought onto a news network and he was talking about, I don't know, Obama or whoever else, he would blast that person to be consistent with his messaging. And then he'll turn around and say, we're doing incredible things at the Trump organization. We have a new hotel going up on Pennsylvania Avenue. We have a new golf course. It's the best golf course you've seen, the best building. We're doing fantastic things with the Pennsylvania hotel. It was dead. It was horrible. It was mismanaged. And we're bringing it back to life right in the nation's capital. That is something that he would say. And he would consistently say, it really doesn't matter if it's the best or not. He's on the platform. He's going to plug himself and he's going to say why it's great. And people who want to be associated with this thing that's on the TV or this brand that he's created, which is somewhat luxury. The guy even went as far as saying that he creates real estate for the Wall Street guy who wants to drive a Ferrari and marry a foreign wife. That's his customer. And this was like in one of his early books. The thing about those Wall Street guys is a lot of them are newly wealthy. And because they're newly wealthy, they have this need to show their wealth. So they're more likely to buy symbols of status than they really are to buy quality or things that matter to them. So if he's positioning himself to take advantage of these newly rich people who crave vanity, he knows that all he needs to do is say this is luxury and this is high end and promote it as such. And those people will buy into that idea, not knowing the difference between a high-end brand or, a commercially high-end brand like a Louis Vuitton, Gucci, something like that, right? Like how high-end is that if it's carried in every single department store, right? It's not really that high-end. So you need to take a lesson from this guy's playbook as far as self-promotion is concerned. All right. There's a lot of things about Donald Trump's success arc that can teach you so much about how humans consume information and how to position yourself to get what you're looking for out of life. It sucks that the dude is ultimately, feeding a very negative part of our country's history and a very negative part of humanity. It kind of breaks my heart because I was a fan of the dude, but being who I am and knowing how it affects my community here in this country, it's kind of hard to see. So, but anyway, I'm not going to get into this political rant or social rant. It's more important to talk about that self-promotion. So for those of you who are, once again, in business, looking for love, looking for friendship, looking for change, you must be out there saying, here I am, loud and clear. I'm here. Here's what I have. Here's what makes it good. Here's what makes it different. And you absolutely should be buying from me, making love to me, hanging out with me for these reasons. Whoever resonates with whatever you're messaging will gravitate towards you. Those who aren't interested in that will not gravitate towards you. But you could guarantee that the people who would be interested in you won't gravitate to you if they don't know that you exist. and they don't know that you're looking for that thing, or they don't know that you're the nicest guy out there who is willing to go above and beyond for his partner, or you are the architect who is the most awarded in your college for design of interior space, or the use of natural stone. I don't know, whatever it is. You need to talk about those things, because people who are interested in that or looking for that will hear you or see you and say, oh, I might need to talk to this person because he has something that is interesting to me, or she has something that is valuable to me. All right. So let that be the tip of the day. At this point, I'm going to turn it over to the questions, and really looking forward to what you guys have. And on top of the self-promotion, geez, I'm going to be running a seminar. I was going to do it today, but since I'm so pressed for time and I really didn't prepare for it, I didn't want to put together this choppy thing. So I'm doing a seminar on Tuesday, November 3rd, to promote what I believe to be the best real estate investing program out there, called Killing the American Dream. It's called Killing the American Dream because I'm encouraging people out there to take advantage of what the true American dream is, which is to come to this country, make a bunch of money, and live the life of leisure and of your own design. In that program, I'm doing something that I don't see many other teachers doing, where I allow you to invest alongside me in a deal in exchange for mentoring and education. Rather than your money paying me for mentoring and education, we invest in a deal together with a minimum of $10,000 to as much as you really want to. And we do a deal together, and the profits from that deal pay me, and the profits from that deal pay you. Rather than it being like, hey, pay me $25,000, I'll teach you everything I know. It's not that way. I'd rather the people who are going through my program get as much exposure to investing as possible. And that's going to be the best way for them to learn. So I'd rather that money go to a deal. I'll benefit from the deal. I'm not going to benefit off of you just learning from me. So I'll be talking about that every day from now until November 3rd when we do that seminar. If you want to register for that and that sounds interesting to you, because in reality, it is one of the best programs I've seen. I designed it because I wish I had something like that for me when I started. Go over to www.entplife.com. You could pre-register for that. That way you could get notified and told as to what the dates are. You get your Zoom link for the seminar. It's going to be fantastic. And it's going to allow you to at least learn the basics, really get to see what my teaching style is, understand what the course is, and understand how the Invest and Learn program is designed. I've had a lot of people question, well, how does it work? I had somebody who recently completed my course asking about the same. Minimum investment, $10,000. That also gives you lifetime access to all my courses. I have an Airbnb course coming out. I have a how to start a home care agency coming out. Not how to start a home care agency, how to start a nurse staffing firm or a nursing agency coming out. And then I'm going to have how to invest in multifamily real estate. That's 5 units and more. If you do one of my Invest and Learns, you have access to everything else, because I consider you somebody who is real about moving through this business world, and you'll be able to learn the different things that I'm doing and how I make money in other avenues. All right. So definitely look out for that. Now off to the questions. So one of the very first questions that came in, I don't know if he's still here. How much should you have in cash reserves to do a staffing agency? I would say you need to know what your payment cycles are going to be and how large of a employment force you're going to want to have, right? If your payment cycle is going to be short, then you can have less money. If your payment cycle is going to be long and then you're going to have a lot of high paid workers, then you're going to want to have deeper pockets. It's really hard for me to say how much you're going to need if I do not know who you're hiring, how many hours you plan on hiring, what's going to be your net terms. Are you going to be net 30, net 15, net 90? What is it going to be? I would say at least be able to have 2 times what your payment cycle is in cash reserves for payroll, just in case somebody gets hung up and is delayed with a payment, that you are not short of payroll. So 2 months of payroll reserves, I would say, is the minimum that you would need. Got a bunch of people who came in. I wish I saw you guys when I was going in, but hello to everybody. Welcome for joining me here at the Dirty Work. Over to YouTube. Damian Roberts, you're telling 100% truth. KC is saying easily conned. I'm guessing that's people who are nouveau rich or human beings in general can easily be conned. But at the same time, you need to get a Portuguese speaker. You need to be able to, what happened here? Oh, my battery died on my cell phone. Well, that ends it for Instagram. But you need to promote yourself, right? And if it's not about conning people, if you're providing a good service and a good product, then you have less resistance on the back end. Nobody wants to be considered a con artist or anything like that. Some people don't care. There's a lot of people who sell in that way, and they're just kind of like that slimy salesman that will do anything to capture your money. I don't necessarily subscribe to that school of thought. I think that a salesman should be really providing a solution or service that someone truly needs or wants. You shouldn't have to sell it too hard. It's more or less presenting the solution or the item that someone is really looking for and making sure they're satisfied with the service that you provided or that product. As long as you do that, you'll never be labeled as a con artist. If you only sell hype and you underdeliver, then of course, then you should be kicked in the balls and left to deal with that. Como vai? Como você é? I don't know what como você é. I think that might mean, I don't know. I know what this como vai, como você é. I don't know what that means. Nice pants. Okay, yep. This is who I was talking about earlier today. So nice pants. So what do you think will be the best markets for real estate for the foreseeable future? Also, what do you think of the Las Vegas market for real estate investing? Good questions. I think there's a migration taking place from northern cities and high tax cities to cities that are more tax friendly. All right. So Las Vegas and Nevada is one of those no state income tax states, like Florida, like Texas. And it's reasonably close to Los Angeles, I think 3 or 4 hours. There is industry there, but it revolves mostly around tourism. And I've seen Las Vegas's market get crushed before, because once there's an economic slowdown and there's less money coming into Vegas, the entire economy kind of contracts aggressively. I think Las Vegas needs to diversify its revenue, so to speak, so that it's beyond tourism and discretionary spending, because that's what Las Vegas is. But I would say, if you're able to, it doesn't matter what market you're in, if you're able to buy the best deals that are available at that time, you're buying deals at below 70% of the market value and rehabbing them at below 70% of the market value. Most corrections are going to be 15 to 30%. So even if you bought at the peak of the market and you were at 70%, when the market does contract, you shouldn't just lose everything. All right. You should be looking and shopping for the best interest rates you possibly could get at the time. And you should be looking for the best deals. So if you're going to go into Las Vegas and Las Vegas market has been relatively hot, you're going to want to make sure that you're buying the best in breed, or you're not buying. Don't try to chase the rising, price and expect that rise is going to happen forever. Always try to buy where you think the market may pull back to and be below that so that you're insulated. And as far as the best markets, just to expand on your question, the best markets for real estate, I think, are going to be markets where land is where land is starting to become uh, harder to get, where there's not much available land to expand in a particular city or near employment hubs. Um, I personally do like these southern cities, like here in Fort Lauderdale, Miami, Orlando, Tampa. Those are growing markets. Jacksonville is a growing market. Houston, Dallas are growing markets. Austin, Texas has been running wild for a while. Um, I would look at cities like that. Phoenix has gone crazy over the years, and these weren't the top cities in the US 15, 20 years ago. So you kind of want to see where there is activity, where new industries are coming, where there are tax incentives to drive new businesses to that area. Where are people talking about moving to? If you start to have neighbors who are like, I'm moving to Oklahoma City or I'm moving to Phoenix, and that keeps happening, then if people around you are talking about it, that means that there's activity. But if you're going to try to be strategic about it, you're going to want to follow where there are tax incentives, right, being offered, because that's always going to attract the business and that's going to attract the employees. And as employees are following businesses and making more money, they're going to have more money to spend on real estate, more money to spend on higher rents. People want to be closer to the work sites, so those values start to go up. I've always liked Newark, New Jersey. I think that has potential, but with what's going on in New York City and the New York City flight, I don't know how long that's going to last. For Leonard's question, where will the seminar be located? I think the seminar is going to be located online. I'm not doing a physical seminar, but if you're asking where the deal is going to be located, right now I invest in Fort Lauderdale or the Broward County area, northern New Jersey, and about 75 to 100 miles outside of New York City in all directions. So that's kind of my range of investing. As I get more people who are interested in different cities, then I will do deals in different cities because I would have more resources to tap on from those cities. Right now, I'm using my resources that I've established and my own time to develop and cultivate in new areas. I can't be in Atlanta and Chicago and Nashville at the same time and building the teams that I need. I just don't have the time for that. Next question. How does the pay structure work for the 10K plus investments? Is there a PPM associated with the investment? Is there an investment plan? What's the hold time? Okay. So the pay structure is based on what is the total deal. So these are smaller deals. These are like $300,000, $400,000 flips. So if depending on what the cash raise is, let's just say the cash raise was $100,000 and that $100,000 was going to represent a 40% stake in said deal, then that $10,000 would essentially buy you 4% equity in that deal. We do them as a simple operating agreement where we're investing into a single purpose or single use LLC. That LLC is making the acquisition. I and my company maintains a 60% equity position in that same deal. And upon exit, however it breaks down, let's just say we made $100,000 profit, you'd be getting a 4% return on that $100,000. So you'd get your $10,000 initial investment back plus $4,000. So you'd be cashed out at $14,000, right? So in essence, you would have made potentially a 40% return on investment or a return on investment on that particular investment, even though it was a 4% contribution. Is there a PPM associated with that? No. So I'll only use a PPM if it's a larger placement. I have, let me recycle this. That's my 30-minute mark. So I've used PPMs. And what a PPM is a private placement memorandum. Those are for bigger developments. I wouldn't go through the hassle of putting together a private placement for $100,000 raise. It's kind of nonsensical. So, but though that's an offering document that explains the entire risk, the plan, etc. These are one-off sort of deals, turnaround time 6 to 9 months, sometimes shorter than that, depending on how complex the renovations are and how hot the market is. I like to say 6 to 9 months, 3 months for the acquisition and renovation phase of it, and 3 months for it to be marketed and sold. So if it's on the market for a month's time, we get in the contract, maybe it takes the buyer 2 to 3 months to close. Typically it's around 60 days. You're looking at that 6-month mark. If it drags out a little further on the market or it takes the buyer longer, then you're looking closer to the 9-month mark. And that's more or less the structure of that. So I hope I answered your question there, Casey. Good evening, the penny stock investor. Katia, I don't know. Katia Bennett has a question. I'm having problems getting contracts from my nursing agency. What do you recommend? More phone calls and ask why aren't you getting picked up? First of all, I have some follow-up questions for that. What city are you based in? What sort of nurses are you selling, right, so to speak? Are you looking for long-term placements, short-term placements, travel? Are you covering per diems? And what feedback are you getting when you're pitching your services? Also, another question is, how many vendors are you reaching out to say that you're having a hard time? KC, Vegas was in bad shape 5 to 7 years ago. I haven't been back since. It was sad. Yep. Like 2012, 2013, you could have gotten some really, really, really good deals, man, because it was looking horrible. Like even in the like resort condominiums, man, city center, those guys couldn't get their project done. It was like in the state of limbo. The signature at MGM Grand was selling condos for like $60,000, $70,000, studios and 1-bedrooms that now would sell for like 200, 300. So yeah, it was pretty dismal back then. Okay, have another question here. Maybe you've answered this before, but is your project manager salaried or project-based contractor? How do you assess the capabilities of your PM? Okay, so right now I have 2 project managers. One project manager is my New York City project manager. He's salaried. I put out ads. I looked for work experience, relevant experience, and negotiated a rate with that person that was consistent with the industry standard for a project manager. Now I can do anywhere as many as 5 deals at once. So he's able to manage that volume, and it makes sense for me to have someone when it's that many. If things slow down, I have to kind of furlough him at times or reduce the compensation. And then I have another project manager that I'm working with here in Florida. Actually, my project manager in New York is also assisting, but I have a local guy who oversees a team, and he charges me a percentage over the cost of his team. So he's just making a spread for managing, and there's just communication between him and I and not all the moving parts. So it could be done either way. You find project managers, you could post ads on Indeed, Craigslist, any job posting service, LinkedIn, Facebook. Just make sure that you're vetting a lot of people. You're looking for personality matches. You're looking for the ability to manage these types of projects, that they've done project management in that area. They understand building code. They understand how to work with contractors, how to read plans, whatever it is that you're going to be doing. I compensate them with money. Casey, understood. Thanks for the answer. I didn't know how big the deal was, so I had to ask. Yeah, of course. No, listen, man, you need to ask questions because you need to ask them, right? So don't worry about that. But larger deals, absolutely, you're going to be going with a private placement. Plus, there's going to be a longer window. How are you going to exit? What's the timeline, etc. For my opportunity fund, it's structured that way, and because the timelines are long, people need to understand their risk. They need to understand the rules of the opportunity zone. So it's completely different. I thought about the DC area for years, since you would find nude prostitutes right outside the White House. Those days, like 2001, 2002, 2003, it was, to me, that was mind blowing. What DC was like back then, and I've seen DC change. One of my best friends lives there. I was trying to get him to invest alongside me. He never took that action. I've seen properties that were going for 300, 400,000 for 3 and 4 plexes, now selling for 1.2, 1.6. And he was living in these properties and renting. I was trying to get him to buy with FHA back then, and he did not listen to me. And that's what it is. But since I'm not in DC, no. When starting out, is it a good idea to undercut your competitors? Depends. If there's somebody out there who's bargain hunting, then they're going to work with you. When you undercut your competitors, you're only kind of shortchanging yourself, because the market has already demonstrated that they're willing to pay that price. So you're only kind of hurting yourself. I think if you're going to try to outdo your competitors, you should outcompete them by providing a better service, by providing a better product, not by providing a cheaper alternative. I don't think that's the answer. For staffing agency, it could be what gets you in the door. Let's just say you're undercutting by $1 an hour. The person who's signing off on that most likely is not their money, but they could go back to their boss and say, well, I saved with this new agency sign up. It's really up to you. If it's your foot in the door, then do it, because it's more important for you to be in the soup than to be just a spectator wishing that you were participating. By being in the business, by seeing how the business works, you're going to get a better sense of how to provide a better service and how to maybe extract the most value out of what it is that you're doing. So if that's going to be what gets you in the door in a certain facility, and then you're able to maximize on that by volume, or you're able to maximize on that by even like selling employees or having a release of employees to that vendor, then that's your angle. Whatever angle you need to use to get in, fine, get in, but don't make it a habit to undercut yourself. You want to position yourself properly. If you're the best agency out there, you should charge the highest rate. If you're going to be the budget rate agency, people are going to treat you differently. They're going to criticize your staff. They're going to be like, oh, that's the cheap agency. That's what happens. So just be wise about how you position yourself. Damian Roberts, do you know of any lenders who finance deals under 100K? Do you finance deals, accept deals brought to you? I'm not in the business of financing deals. Deals under 100K, I have a lender. I think my lenders, the minimum that they do is 75,000. And I think the properties would have to be valued over 100,000 after renovations. The reason for that is obvious. It's the same amount of work to originate debt on $75,000 as it is on $750,000. And as a lender, you're in the game of points, right? Origination fees and interest rates. So why, chase a $75,000 deal when you could have somebody who's doing a $1 million deal? You're making 2 points on the front side, 20 grand. You make 7 points over the course of the loan, 70,000, you made 90,000. On 75,000, he made $3,000. So why would somebody want to do that? That's why they have the limits. And I don't fund deals because I'm going to make more money off of investing. So like, let's just say if I took $100,000, I would in essence be able to buy and do a deal that is probably like $350,000, right? Between float money and everything else. On a deal that's $350,000, I might be getting out at like 425, 450, right? So if I put 100 in and I'm getting out at 75 or 100,000, I'm making 75% to 100% on my cash. If I took my cash and lent to you and made 9% over the life of your loan, 2% in fees, 9% in interest rate for 9 months, I end up making 9%. I only made 9,000 on my 100 grand, and I'm counting on you to properly exit that deal. I'd rather make the 75K, 100K on my 100K. I hope that makes sense. This is my last question because I'm now at 40 minutes and I like to keep these at 30. I'm traveling tomorrow and I haven't packed yet or anything. So nice pants for the clothes. Would you recommend investing in REU locally, or should you pick a market that is growing? Okay. Personally, I would say invest in your local market, especially if you're just getting started. The reason for that is you're going to understand your local market so much more than the foreign market. You're going to be getting involved in a foreign market because it appears to be hot, but you don't really know why it's hot. In your own market, you understand what neighborhoods are good, where you want to be located. The neighborhood overall might be pretty good, but certain properties are in a not so good school district, even though it's the same town. You would know those nuances immediately because you live there. You also may have a better idea of where to source materials because you drive by the cabinet store every day on your way to work, and your neighbor is a plumber or an electrician or something along those lines. And you're able to kind of start piecing together your essential team, and your knowledge base is already at a certain level. If you go into a new market, you're starting completely green. You have no team, no understanding. Now you need to learn that market. You need to find your team. You need to make sure that you're not doing the wrong thing, and it's going to be at a distance from you. How are you going to pop up on the job and make sure that they're laying your tile the way that you wanted it to? Certain things you can't see in video, certain things you can't see by picture. You're going to be flying in and out of a city to check on a contractor's work. What if that contractor is slacking? What if you don't like them? What if you need to change them? Now you need to fly back and get bids and start with somebody else. It's so much easier in your local market. So that pretty much ends it for today's installment of Dirty Work. Remember, you are your best promoter. Make sure whatever it is that you're doing, you talk to everybody about it. Like, what was, who had the question? Damien, right? Like Damien's question. To me, that's like a self-promotion in a way. Do you finance any deals if I brought them to you? He's already letting me know that he's interested in doing deals. He's looking to vet deals, and he's looking for a lender. He's saying, I am someone who's fairly interested in investing in real estate. If he's willing to talk to me and present that question as a stranger, he's most likely going to talk to his spouse. He's most likely going to talk to his friends at work. Whoever, some dude is talking about real estate, he might just jump into the conversation and say, I've been thinking about X, Y, and Z. The more you put that energy out there, the more likely you are to find someone who says, yeah, you know what? I've got 100 grand sitting around. I want to do it too, but I don't have the time. Bam. You come with the knowledge. You come with the idea. You start building with this dude that you met at the gas station, and you're doing a deal together. So it's important for you to kind of message out what you're doing, because sometimes that messaging out sticks. Okay, last question. Have you thought about doing less competed asset types, such as small scale industrial? No. It's like it's a competition that's going to help drive the appreciation and to help drive the price. I'm not investing in any industrial anything in the United States. I- We've been on a straight industrial decline. If anything, I'd be looking at industrial areas that are rezoning to residential in key market. Like I know in Indianapolis, there's been a pretty aggressive movement. There's even a growing tech scene in Indianapolis. Like I said, I like Newark, New Jersey. Obviously, the story of Long Island City, Queens, once a manufacturing zone and warehouse haven, now one of the luxury neighborhoods in Queens, New York. Same thing with Hell's Kitchen. Same thing with Lower Manhattan. These are neighborhoods that turned from industrial, Bushwick, Williamsburg, Dumbo. These are neighborhoods that were all industrial and that are now residential. So I don't think so. But anyway, man, everybody have a good night. I'll be tuning in again tomorrow for the next Stolen and Dirty Work. And then for the next week, I'm going to be in Brazil, enjoying myself, looking for real estate, taking a little bit of a break, if you want to call it that. But I'll be going live from Brazil every day, giving you some insight as to what I'm seeing. This is going to be my fourth time in Brazil. Really love that country. So for those of you who are potentially interested in relocating out of the United States, or you're looking for a new place to travel, definitely tune in for that. And make sure you go on over to www.entplife.com, pre-register for the 1-hour seminar where I'm talking exclusively about my investment course and exclusively about the Invest and Learn program, so that you guys could get all the insight around that program, how to invest, how to participate, how you should be approaching real estate investing from 1 to 4 family real estate, how I'm doing it, and how you can get connected. Thank you guys. Have a good night.